Hello everybody, and welcome to Andrew Broussard Watercolors. Today we're going to look at linear perspective, and I have some transparent paper for us to look at, and hopefully makes it interesting and shows you different things to think about. So we're going to start off with drawing a horizon line. So I'm using this triangle just because if I use a full-length ruler, it would start knocking into my tripod. So we have a horizon line, and we're going to make a point of interest on it. This is going to be where we're going to draw all of our lines that recede into the paper going back to. So theoretically, drawing some lines here, and let's extend it all the way up. And here, oops, I knocked my camera. All lines will vanish to that vanishing point. Now, if I put my transparency on top of this, the idea is if I had a row of trees that were receding back, they would look like this as they get closer to us. However, the bottom of the trees are staying in the same point. So they're not going to look like they're coming closer to us if the top and the bottom are not being affected in some way, shape, or form. So, removing our transparency, bringing a line for the bottom of the trees down, we can then put our transparency back and create it like this. And that's what gives us the effect of these trees coming towards us. And it doesn't have to just be trees. So we can do little poofy things on top. Trees. We can have a fence. And that would recede back. And in fact, we could draw some more lines. Stopping at our vanishing point. And these guys could act as our cross pieces on our fence. So you see how we would have the top of the fence here, and it would recede back. Now, trees, fences, all types of things, walls, houses, they'll recede back into the picture plane to that vanishing point. Now, that's kind of in and out of the paper, things moving front and back. But there's something else I want to show you. Horizontal lines. These are kind of the front faces of things looking at us. So I'm going to do dashed lines so we don't get too confused and too muddled with what we're working with. Dashed lines. And we're going to start running out of space. Hope not. We're going to talk about the height of objects. So this is going to be our trees on the back row, trees in the front row, and how they look in relationship to each other. We'll do one more, and if we need to do more in a bit, I'll add some more. Now, if I'm looking way, way back in the distance, I'm going to use this one right back here, the first line. We could have trees on our horizon line. There you go. A whole row of trees. Maybe we have a house back here. Things in the distance are generally going to be smaller. Now they're going to have that small height, but they're going to be low, close to that horizon line in the picture plane. Now trees that get closer, and I'll use this space right here for a closer tree, will generally be higher in height and lower than that horizon line. In fact, if we want an even bigger tree, we'd have one right here. We have that higher height and that lower height, lower depth right there. And that would create a very easy to read, easy to understand depth of field taking place. So let's put a lot of it together, and we'll talk about a few ideas and some things that I see that people do a little bit wrong, or maybe misconstrue. And remember that I'm doing this in marker, so I could probably wipe it off the transparency sheet, but I have another blank one here as well, so it fits in that region. So we'll do our far horizon, a little bit of trees back here, just like we did before. Have something larger, so lower, has the same height, has the same depth, but now this is going to be important. It helps with linear perspective to kind of follow this as a guide. You know, don't be like, oh, it's a steadfast rule, because you can bend it. You see how I'm following these lines right here? So they're all going to be in that same horizon line. I can't erase from this, but I can vary the height on these guys to make it more interesting. So even though they're at the same depth, having a variation in that height and moving away from that will help make things less picture perfect. Another example would be telephone poles. Let's do another tree line first right here. So if I had a closer tree here, I could have them right here, and just through simple linear perspective we could see that it's larger and closer to us. But now let's look at telephone poles. I'm going to do telephone poles on this side, and I'm going to change them up on that side. Telephone pole, telephone pole, telephone pole, telephone pole. All of these I have raising to that exact line and that exact depth. Linear perspective will let us know how to put the tops of those telephone poles, and that'll help us recede into the paper. Now, one thing that I try to do is to vary up that repetition, where whether it's the spacing between them is different or the height is slightly different, because you're going to have different in the ground and the way it was dug. You're going to have difference in the length of that pole. You're going to have some variations that take place, so it's not going to be perfectly falling along that line, and hopefully I'm showcasing that. But you still get that idea that this one is closer than that guy, even though he's a little taller than he's supposed to be in that spot. This one's a little bit smaller than he's supposed to be in that spot. we get a better sense of reality, and we kind of break that linear perspective a little bit, which makes it interesting. So just a few other things to think about. We talked about trees, we talked about fences, telephone poles. Roads would recede back in this fashion. Houses would recede back in this fashion. In fact, if I have a little bit of gap on this transparency, I can do that for y'all. The front of the house is here, but then the side of the house would recede back. And the roof of the house would fall along that line. So you can use these kind of ideas to help you out and to figure out where those things would go. In fact, this one that I drew right here, this side, I didn't follow any one of these lines. However, if I trace this down, it would go to that point. So you don't have to draw out a grid or anything like that, but whenever you're doing these things, keep in mind that you can use a generalized point to help you out. So I hope this little discussion helped out. I'm going to do a separate video with a few dry brush effects and how it can affect linear perspective. And then I think we might be able to do something with color and kind of talk about the atmospheric perspective as well. So I hope that helped. Let me know in the comments down below. Please like, subscribe, follow. I have a Patreon account that I would love for you guys to support me on. And I have Etsy if you would like to look into anything like that. All right, have a great day. I'll talk to y'all soon.